All right, we are here with Tiffany Mead for one of our judges this year. Tiffany, can you tell us a little bit about your background and something that you appreciate about the program?
Absolutely. So I grew up here in Colorado and I was a lifelong 4-H'er and I was really fortunate to be on a horse judging team and actually had a scholarship to judge horses at junior college and then finished up at CSU here in Fort Collins and have been judging open and 4-H shows through the Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah area since and still do that today, and also am a youth coach here in Colorado in the Denver metro area. So really
Awesome.
love what 4-H does for youth and gives you guys a great platform to go on to whatever other equine avenues you want to.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, we are so excited to have you back again. So, just to get us started, what are some of the most important things you're looking for? What are some of your your hard no-nos that you see in a class that you really don't want to see? What are your big points?
Awesome. I love to come out and I love to see you guys come out and show me what you and that horse have been working on. I want you guys to come and show me what you guys have been working on. I want you to put your best foot forward. And more importantly than anything, I want you to learn your pattern and just put your best foot forward and do everything that you can to put on the best show that you can. I know that you guys have so much pressure on yourselves and I've done so much to get to this state show, so try to put all of that to the side. I want you to put out what you've been working on. I love precision in your patterns. I love a really strong, confident rider and exhibitor. So when you come out there, I want that nice, strong, tall seat and position, whether it's in the showmanship or the horsemanship or whatever you may be competing in. And I just want to see you and your horse together in the best performance you guys can do for me.
Awesome. That is great advice across the board. So that is perfect. All right. We have you in the schedule to do two-handed intermediate showmanship, two-handed rail work. So that means you're going to be judging all of our two-handed exhibitors in their rail work. And then for the Western show, you'll be doing the Western junior showmanship and Western senior rail work. Interestingly, we have no questions that are overly applicable to you. So going through those classes in showmanship, what are some of your most important parts?
I love to see youth come in and really, I want you to think to yourself, Judge, get ready to put your boots back on because this horse and I, we're going to blow your socks off. I love to have youth come in and just blow me away with your confidence. I like to tell the youth that I coach. I want you to come in and have purpose. So think about it like when you go to like the Walmart or the King Supers or the Kroger, whatever the grocery store, and those Girl Scouts are out there trying to sell you cookies. I don't need your cookies. I got things to do. I don't need you to run with that horse, but I want you to have purpose. If you're dawdling and kind of like just walking and moseying around, you're not going to wow me. I want you to have purpose, but I want you and that horse to be together in concert. I want you to have a place that you're going and you guys are going to get there together. Really learning your pattern and knowing where you're going to go, that's the big piece. Since we have so many of you guys, I'll probably have a walker that'll walk you around you guys as we do the inspection component. So, really just paying attention to where that person is. And I'm essentially going to be sitting there taking the notes. That way I can get you guys ranked and ribboned the right way. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. I want you to really just be confident and work with that horse the best that you can and just really execute those maneuvers as best as you and that horse can. Can't wait to see you guys come out and do that showmanship. That's one of my favorite classes of all time.
Perfect. It's one of my favorites too. I understand that. All right. And then rail work. Your other two classes are either the two-handed rail work or our senior rail work. So what is the part that really, really pulls some points in, or conversely, like what is something that really kind of takes those points away from an exhibitor?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously with those two-hand horses, you guys have been working on those horses and there's still going to be some fixing that you're doing since they are on the younger side. So we get that. We appreciate that. But really that rail work, I really still want to evaluate your position and the way that you're working with that horse together. So still being able to sit up nice and tall, open chest, square shoulders, looking up where you're going. That's what we're still looking for. Understanding in the two-handed that you're still going to be working through that horse. There's still going to be a little bit of a little baby brain in there, that's fine. but we want to see you work with that horse together and still presenting yourself as that confident, competent rider. For those of you guys in the senior in the regular Western, same thing. It's essentially horsemanship, but just on the rail. So that nice, strong, tall, confident picture, quiet hands, quiet legs. That's really what we're looking for. I think when Aurora and I were talking a little before, we had a couple questions for just kind of general rail work and general Western stuff. I don't care where you want to have your hand for your free hand. I I was a worrier, surprise. So my riding coach would always give me a rock that I would sit and I would worry on the whole time I would ride.
Mhm.
So I just would almost always match my hand, but wherever is comfortable and confident for you, that's what's the most important piece. I, again, surprise, would always try to like cheat and two hand. So wherever you can have your hand, so you're not going to be tempted to two hand. And if you need to carry that rock so you worry on it and you don't feel tempted to two hand your horse, that's going to be the best place for it. Keep in mind, I say this to the kids that I teach clinics to, teach lessons to, have at horse shows. No one is allowed to die until I leave. That is not a challenge. That is a rule. But
I
I
like
want you guys to be safe. So if you need to pull that second hand, please do. But
that.
I want you guys to have as clean and as legal of a ride as possible. It breaks my heart when somebody has to go two-handed because their horse is just kind of being a punk for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But we want you guys to have a nice, clean, legal ride. You guys have worked so hard to get to this state show. I want you guys to show me what you got and do your best.
Awesome. Well, that sums up all of my questions. I think that really covers everything that everyone probably is going to say in the rest of the videos because that is exactly what they all say. All right. Well, just as a reminder to our youth, Tiffany is going to judge our two-handed intermediate showmanship, two-handed rail work, Western junior showmanship, and Western senior rail work. All right. Thank you so much, Tiffany, and we will see you next week.
Can't wait to see you guys. Good luck. Drive safe.
All right, we are here with Caitlin Fish. She's going to be one of our judges this year. She is one of our alumni, which is really amazing when we can bring alumni back to our program. So, Caitlin, can you tell us a little bit about your background and some of the things that you appreciate seeing in our youth?
Hey guys, so my name is Caitlin. I am a student at Utah State University right now. I'm finishing my degree in equine science and management this semester. Outside of this, I work at horse shows, so I get to travel the country, going to breed shows, reining shows, stuff like that. I run a 4-H club, so 4-H is still near and dear to my heart. I get to do it all the time. When I grow up, I want to be an extension agent, so I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, great. All right, so for our state show this year, we have you judging just our in-hand trail. So all of our age divisions are going to show to you for their trail. We only had one specific question asked, and that is it states perform the slicker. What exactly does that mean, and what will you be looking for?
Yeah, okay. So I know that picking up and putting down objects is a defined maneuver in your guys' rule book. So I'm looking for that to be followed as you are able to pick up the object, show that you can maintain control of your horse and have an object at the same time, and put it down. If you feel that you can show some level of difficulty that other exhibitors might not be able to, and that is something that you want to do, you are free to do that as long as you are still following the written rules. So that's my answer for that question.
Great. All right. Well, whereas there's only those specific one, um, what are you looking for in general? What are some of your pros? What's something that you're very picky about, and what's something that you're like, that is an
Yeah.
automatic low card art for me?
Yeah. Okay. So my big thing always comes down to doing your pattern as it is written and, well, drawn on the sheet. So these patterns were created intentionally and the lines were drawn in a certain way to either help you perform a maneuver or to show difficulty in a maneuver. I want to see the angles that are drawn on your patterns done. If you get sloppy with your straight lines or your corners are round when they're supposed to be square, that's something that I'm really looking for, and it shows a lot of intention to me if you are able to say, no, the pattern was drawn like this, and I'm going to perform it to the degree that I am supposed to. Otherwise, that comes across as a little bit lazy and just not showing to your best ability. So that's something that I'm really particular about, as well as completing your maneuver fully. If you are supposed to jog all the way to an obstacle, I don't want to see trickling into a walk and meandering over to where you're supposed to be. I want to see you trotting when you're supposed to, all the way to the end. So crisp, complete your maneuvers. Yeah.
Good. That's great. Having looked at the patterns, is there any specific maneuver that you really want to talk about or bring up or anything like that that our kids need to really think about?
I would say I don't know that there's any maneuvers of concern here. Make sure you're giving yourself enough space and lining up appropriately for some of these maneuvers. Um, they might be drawn tight, maintain shape when you're trotting your corners, but give yourself enough space to actually keep jogging and complete it. I'm looking here at the intermediate in-hand trail, and it has you walking directly to the side pass log, straight into it head on. So, however you feel the need to get in line with that side pass log, I'm okay if you walk up right behind it, pivot a little bit, and then side pass. I'm happy if you take a little bit of a curve because it's not drawn in a way that lines you up to side pass. There's a little bit of interpretation there, and however you can show your horse best, maybe take that chance to show some ability. So
Great. I love that answer. Cool. Well, that's all we have for you this morning. Thank you so much for
awesome.
taking the time, and we will see you this week.
Awesome. Thanks. See you.
All right, we are here with Caitlin Cottom, and she's going to be one of our judges this year. She is going to be judging our in-hand showmanship and lunge line for all age divisions. And then in the Western Day, she will be doing our showmanship for seniors and junior horsemanship. Caitlin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. Hi, guys. I have been a judge for Utah 4-H for the last 5 years. I'm also carded with the Pony of the Americas and judged many open shows throughout the year. I grew up riding hunter jumper horses and switched over to the Western world in college and now compete in working equitation and ranch versatility with my mule.
That is perfect. Great. Well, we are so excited to have you back with us again. So we will get started with your lunge line and showmanship questions. We didn't have any specific showmanship questions for the in-hand. Are there any tips or something that's really important that you want to see in any of your showmanship, specifically in-hand?
Yeah, in general, in showmanship, pivots are my number one tiebreaker, like maneuver out of everything. I really want to see a clean, crisp pivot on a singular pivot foot. That is the number one way to knock down your penalties and increase your maneuver score, is having a really, really beautiful pivot.
Great. That's perfect. Kate, and our one question that was asked for lunge line. This is kind of a two-part question. What are you looking for? And when you start the timer, when do you start the timer? And when I start with my horse, or is it when the horse is already out on a circle?
Awesome. I'm going to start with the second part of that question first. So I will give you a chance to get your horse walking out on the circle or whatever you need to do at the start of your circle, and I will call when I'm starting your time. But I will give you the chance to get your horse out onto the circle before I start that time. As for what I'm looking for, I'm really looking for a responsive, consistent moving horse. I want one that's really paying attention to the handler, that seems focused on the job and has nice forward movement. I don't want to see you guys having to really chase your horses into each maneuver, just really smooth and responsive to the cues that you're giving them.
Great. Again, that is kind of all of our questions for the in-hand. So that's perfect. That makes it easy for us. All right. And then with your junior, well, we'll go to senior showmanship. So we've got a couple of questions here that are pretty similar. In the senior showmanship pattern, do you want us to start with our shoulder at cone A or our hip? So after the pivot, we will be set up in line with the cone.
So I would like you to start with your hip lined up with cone A. And so when you finish your pivot, you should still kind of have that hip around the same spot of cone A as well. Again, keep those pivots really nice and solid, right? Right next to that cone, and that'll really help you with your maneuver scores.
Perfect. When jogging to and past E, will there be a marker showing where to turn right?
Yes, we will make sure we have a cone there at E so that you know where we expect you to turn to finish your pattern.
Perfect. All right, we're going to do this one kind of as a combined question. In the showmanship pattern for seniors, it shows a 90-degree pivot to exit. In the word description, it does not say so. How would you like us to exit, and is it at a walk?
So per how the pattern is written, it does tell you when all of your pivots are in that pattern, and it does say walk to exit. I would like to see you walk straight away from that pattern, a stride or two, just nice and straight and still in your showmanship mode. That way I can see that you understand the pattern and what it is asking for. After about 2 strides of that, you are welcome to just kind of continue walking out of the arena. We will have callbacks for this class, but I will consistently have you guys exit, and we will call you all back at the end so nobody has to stand around for too long.
Perfect. All right. Again, that was kind of a combined question on that one. And then your last one here is how far apart will the cones be that we are backing through? And how far should we back after cone D?
Okay. So where I am not show management, I cannot give you an exact measurement on how far those cones will be apart. It will be very conducive to being able to weave in and out of them. We're not trying to trick anybody and make it this incredibly technical obstacle. We'll make sure that there's plenty of space for a horse of any size to be able to back confidently through there. And as far as backing past cone E or backing at the end before the pivot to cone E, that kind of becomes a personal decision. You will have to go a little bit past cone E to make sure that you're lined up properly with it and don't break pattern. However, that kind of depends on how sharp your horse's pivot is again, where you'll need to stop that horse to ensure that you're lined up properly for the next maneuver.
Awesome. Great. All right. That is the end of your showmanship questions. But whereas you are judging our junior horsemanship, we didn't have any specific questions. Is there something that catches your eye on the pattern that you either really want the kids to focus on or something? What are some of your tips for that pattern?
Yeah, this pattern's a really fun one. I'm actually really excited to see how you guys go about this pattern. A big thing for me in horsemanship is really, really crisp transitions. When you're asking your horses to lope off out of your lead change or just to lope off from the get-go, I want to see a really quick, smooth transition, not a horse that bounces his trot through it. I really want you to be aware of your arena usage as well. Make sure you're utilizing the space in your arena so you can show off your horse as best as possible. This is not a speed event, so take your time making sure that you're setting your horse up properly.
Perfect. I think that is great advice across the board. All right. That is all of our Western and two-handed questions. You are also our working equitation judge this year, which is very exciting. It's a new program for our state, and I'm so excited to be having you join us with that. We are going to have you in our dressage arena. Are there any things that you would say to the youth who are learning the sport or wanting to get into it about the dressage pattern in general?
Yeah, I was super intimidated by the dressage patterns when I first started this event. And as Aurora knows, I asked a million questions about this. So don't overthink it too much. I was reading into those patterns way more than I needed to, trying to overplan and overthink. If you've ridden a horsemanship pattern, if you've ridden in these 4-H classes, the dressage is not that much more difficult. It's just a slightly longer pattern than what you're used to doing. Make sure, again, just like I said in the junior horsemanship, that you're very aware of where you're placing yourself in that dressage arena. Geometry and the shape of your maneuvers is a massive score booster or diminisher if you're not doing it correctly. So just be aware of that. And again, the crisp, clean transitions and a good forward moving horse. We don't want to see anybody doing their Western pleasure jog in the dressage today.
Awesome. Kate, that is great. We are, again, so excited to have you join us this year, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much. All right, we are here with Bailey Summers. We are so excited to have her join us this year. Bailey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from Southwest Missouri. I grew up on my family's cattle operation there, commercial cattle, and then I've always had horses to help work on the farm there, and did some ranch horse shows growing up with them. Then when I went into college, I guess backtrack. I did judge on FFA level in high school, all throughout high school, and then decided that's what I wanted to do in college. So I went to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M University and judged there on the horse judging team, and also showed on the equestrian team. Then transferred to West Texas A&M University and did the same too, judged and showed there, and really enjoyed my time there. And ever since then, I currently am a crop insurance agent as a full-time position, but I judge and scribe and ring steward shows as much as I can, which is pretty frequent. I'm lucky to have a position that lets me continue that hobby and passion of mine. And that's about it, I guess.
Great. That's perfect. Cool. All right. Well, this week we're going to have you judging our two-handed senior showmanship, two-handed rail work. So you'll end up judging the entire, all three age groups of rail work for two-handed. And then for our Western show, we've got you in the intermediate showmanship and junior rail work. So for our two-handed questions, there were no two-handed showmanship questions submitted. When you look at that pattern or just in general, is there something that you really want to see in a showmanship pattern?
Nothing specific to the pattern that they have, but just overall in any showmanship class, I can probably speak for all judges, especially myself. It's a pattern class. So first and foremost, knowing your pattern, knowing what side of the cones to be on, that is the first thing that's going to keep you from being successful is if you come in and you're not prepared and don't know your pattern. So that's first and foremost. And then once you do perform a correct pattern, some things that I specifically look for, and like I said, most judges are just how well you and your horse work in unison together on the ground. That's exactly what this class is about. And there's a lot of areas in this pattern to show that off. The stops, the turns, and really just the way of going too at the trot and how quickly you transition. I think that's where a lot of points are earned, is in between the numbers, basically.
Yeah.
Is how you kind of string them together.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right. And then with our rail work for the two-handed horses, is there something that they should be really aware of or like a big pet peeve that you see with a rail work class that you don't want to see it happening?
I think just anything when you're riding two-handed, it's very easy to take advantage of that, and especially if your horse is not necessarily maybe showing to the best of its abilities where it warmed up really nicely and then you come in and you have a little bit of disappointment. It's real easy to take advantage of the fact that we're in two hands. But at the same time, the riders need to look at that as this is a step up class and not focus on their hands and realize that there's way more important aids, i.e. their legs, their seat, and their voice, that they also should utilize just rather than strictly going to their hands. And I think that's a good thing in one-handed classes too, is to realize that a lot of times I can speak for it too, because I was a youth showing once as well. It's real easy to get snatchy or to use that to balance. But really, we are so good at riding with our seat and legs and our voices outside of the pin. It's really easy to focus on your backup, which is really your hands.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see riders that are utilizing their seat and their voice and not going straight to hand in transitions and everything on the rail.
Great. That's perfect. All right. So we're going to move over to our Western classes. So with our Western intermediate showmanship, I think you kind of already answered it, but what are you looking for? What is like the one most important part that the kids should really focus on?
Yeah. I'll just reiterate that the pattern comes first, pattern correctness. I can say that every single time because it's really something that surprises me judging so much that you come in and I get it, like your show nerves may get to you, but just being able to rehearse and remember that pattern before you step into the pen and know it like the back of your hand, because you might black out in there or you might forget things, and so you want to have it like muscle memory, especially these patterns way ahead of time. There's really no excuse to come in and not know. So first and foremost, knowing your pattern, laying down a correct pattern, then your points will come on top of that.
Great. That's perfect. All right. There were several that we were submitted asking about the quick set. Can you give me a quick overview? Do you want the kids to switch sides? How long should it take them? What do you want that quick set to look like?
For sure. That's a good question. I don't want them to spend longer than maybe 3 seconds doing that. I want it to be focused as a quick set. And so with that, it's not going to be realistic for the kids to switch sides. I think that we can save that and proper quartering for the actual setup. So in the quick set, I just like to see your horse it's coming from a stop. So stop if more than likely, all 4 feet are going to be relatively close anyway. You may not even need to do a quick set if that's the case. But if they stop and a front leg steps out or a hind leg is behind, just getting them all 4 feet set up underneath them. It doesn't have to be perfectly in line, but just real quick, getting them in kind of like that athletic stance to be able to go and do the next maneuver and then move on.
That's great. Awesome. All right. And then the other one that we had several that was submitted, so we're just going to roll them into one. With the pattern where they back in to set up for the judge, do you want it to be performed as a solid soft back? Do you want a back and then a pivot in the back? Do you want it to be kind of pulled around? And which side of the horse should they set up on after they've backed in and set up?
Okay, so kind of a two-part question.
Yes.
The type of back is going to be completely dependent on what they think their horse can do the best. So if their horse is capable of backing completely around a corner, and the exhibitor is comfortable with that, I will mark it to it's like the difference between a simple lead change and a flying lead change when it's not specified. Whatever your horse is shows the best at. So
great.
They're not going to be, if they're backing and they have to move the front end and do more of a pivot, they're not going to be necessarily hurt for that. It's whatever they think flows the best for their horses. And then as far as the position to be in when you're backing up, a lot of that's going to depend on how accurate the horse is in line with the judge. So I would just say they should use their best discretion and to quarter properly once that setup has started, really.
Perfect.
I don't expect them to quarter properly before they have their horses stop. They shouldn't consider, they need to know that they just need to be in line with the judge. Once that judge or the walker starts to walk, that's when I would consider the quartering.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. And your only other class, and we didn't get any questions, is the junior rail work. I know you gave us tons of information for the two-handed rail work. For the juniors, is there anything specific? Is there something that you really don't want to see? What's your most important thing that you want to look for?
I would say a lot of what I've already mentioned in the two-handed, really using all of our aids and making sure that our effectiveness is driven from the use of multiple aids. I think that's so important, especially in our youth classes, when we're trying to build a foundation here. And then just also keeping in mind in any rail work class, using space on the rail to show your horse and yourself off in this class specifically. So if you're getting in kind of a herd of buffalo and they're knowing that I can cut across this arena as long as it's safe for them and for the judges, stewards, whoever's in the middle. But if there's too many people up next to you, cutting across to put yourself on a better position, oftentimes it's those things that make you stand out on the rail when you're being a smart rider.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, that is all of our questions. We are so excited to have you join us, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are here with Michelle, and we are so excited that she is joining us for our state show this year. Michelle, could you tell us a little bit about where you came from, what your background is, stuff like that?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Ohio, showed horses and trained there for about 15 years. Moved here into Idaho now, and now I'm training at my own facility in Emmett. And I've now got about 20 plus years on me training. I started judging a year ago. I have my first national card in American Stock Horse, and we'll be testing in January for my buckskin card. I adore 4-H. I was in 4-H when I was a kid. My kids are going to be going into 4-H, so it is near and dear to my heart, and I'm so excited to judge for you.
Perfect. Great. We are so excited to have you here with us this year. So your classes this year are going to be two-handed junior showmanship, the two-handed trail. So you'll do all of the trail age divisions throughout. And then for our Western day, we have you doing our intermediate horsemanship. So we'll go straight to our two-handed classes. So no junior questions were submitted for the two-handed pattern. Do you have any tips, tricks, something that you really want to see, maybe a pet peeve that we could help the kids with?
In showmanship, my biggest thing is I want to see you show your horse. I want you to show it off. Be a little snappy in your pattern. Get that spunk behind it. And get your chains on your halters. They shouldn't be very long. I've seen a lot of 4-Hers, they got a chain about this long. Please, it needs to be there. You'll see that you have so much more control with your horse if you shorten up that chain a little bit. I'm sure many of advisors will help you do that if you don't know how. But there's a little trick to flip over that chain to make it so that you have a lot more control. Also, don't hold that chain. Hold it down the leather. But those are my things.
Advice for all of our showmanshippers across the board. That is great advice. Perfect. Okay, in trail for our two-handed horses, looking at the patterns, is there anything specific you want to bring up before we get into our 1.5 specific questions?
Yeah. For me, each of these patterns have quite a bit of poles. When you're going over those poles, whether it be a walk, a trot, or a lope, you're going to need to either use your heels or your calves to kind of lift them up over those poles. If you lift your horse's body over that pole, you're less likely to tick them. And those ticks, man, they add up. So that would be my biggest thing. When you go into your box, hard stop. Don't let them get that foot over before, so you don't get that penalty that kills people. So lots of lifting and really bring them down into those boxes.
Awesome. All right, our 2 questions that were asked, one of them was corrected already with the pattern release. The other one is asking to pick up the slicker. Mainly, I think we're asking, do you want to see the picker just like, or the slicker just picked up and set down? Do you want it draped over the horn and then set down? What's your preference on how to do the slicker?
I'm okay with it just being shown. Don't need to do anything fancy. So just lift it up so that it's seen, and then you can put it right back down. That's totally fine with me.
Perfect. Great. And again, for those of our kids who are wondering what hand to pick it up with, please check out your rule book. We do have it listed in there, which hand is the preferred answer. And based on the way the pattern's drawn, you should pick it up with the hand closest based on your pattern. All right. And then into our individual Western classes, we have you judging our intermediate horsemanship for the full day. Our only submitted question was, what are you looking for? So if you could go into detail about that and maybe like a really big positive and maybe something that we want to avoid.
Yeah. I think a lot of times what I see in horsemanship is the lack of horsemanship, the lack of equitation. We really want to see that 90-degree in your free hand and in your rein hand. You can move that rein hand a little bit to where you want. We want to kind of see that stay very square. We don't want the elbows coming out. We want those elbows to kind of hug your rib cage so there's not too much air back there. When I show horsemanship, before I go to my A cone, you'll see me. I jiggle it out, I reset my legs, and then I go up to the cone so that I know I am in my horsemanship. I'm in my equitation. My legs are where they're supposed to be. My elbows are where they're supposed to be. They're not flapping. It's like lots of, you'll get a lot of praise from your judges if you go in there looking like that, than if you're slumped over and looking like you're in a pleasure class. My clients know that when I work with horsemanship, that's my pet peeve. I want to see that equitation. And if this caught them a top 2 versus other people that have had a correct pattern too, but they got it up there because they had that equitation. That would be my big pet peeve. I want to see that. And what was the other one you wanted? You wanted to see something
Like, is there a maneuver in the pattern that you want the kids to really pay attention to, or something that is somewhere they could really pull their score up if they can show that well?
Yeah. Let's see, we're doing just junior?
Intermediate horsemanship.
Intermediate.
For the Western. Yep.
Okay. So on that pattern, you don't have a lead change, doesn't look like. So there's three places I see here that have real boxy corners in your pattern. If you can really show your horse off in those sharp corners, it looks flashy. It will have your level of difficulty to be raised, rather than like kind of really rounding those corners. So if you can really pinpoint those sharp corners and really show your horse off like that with those equitations, it's gonna make a really nice pattern for you.
Awesome. That is great advice. All right. Well, that is all of our questions for you. Thank you again so much for coming out to judge with us, and we will see you at the state show.
That sounds great. I'm excited.
All right, this video is going to be a little bit different than some of our others. Our judge, Lori, was unable to make the Zoom call work. And so I called her and we were able to go through all the questions that were submitted for her. And I will be reading her responses to those questions. So even though she's not with us, we are so excited to have Lori judging with us this year. It's going to be a really great experience for everybody. So the classes she's judging is just on the Western Day, and it is for Western Horsemanship Seniors and Western Rail Work for our intermediates. So for our Horsemanship Seniors, the couple of questions that were asked, two of them were going to be kind of combined because they're basically asking the same thing. The first one is, in the senior horsemanship pattern, it says to drop your stirrups at step 4. It does not say to pick them back up. Do you want us to pick them up after the back and then walk out, or walk out with them still dropped? Her answer was, the pattern says drop them and does not repeat picking them back up. So exit the arena with the stirrups still dropped. All right, and then for the next one, and the only other one that was submitted for this pattern specifically, was, do we go from loping on the right lead and then break all the way to the walk and then pick up the left lead? And the other one is basically the same, and it says, does simply change through the walk mean we are supposed to walk instead of jog? Her full answer on that one is going to be, read the rule book. And yes, explicitly when the patterns say to go from a lope to a walk to a lope, that means that lead change needs to be exhibited through the full walk. If you have other concerns about the maneuvers of this pattern, she highly suggests reading our personal rule book and then also reading the AQHA rule book to have an understanding of what that forehand turn is specifically supposed to look like and how it's judged in a Western class. All right, and then her other class was our intermediate horseman, or our intermediate rail work. And the question was, where do you want our freehand? And what do you feel about pace? Would you rather it be slow or fast? So for the hand question, she said, refer to the rule book. The freehand should mirror your riding hand. And for pace, she is looking for the person who can ride their horse and make their horse look the best, will be better judged in the horsemanship. She has no care for speed or pace, but wants to see that horse ridden to the best of their ability and have the youth continue to show, which is an awesome answer. We're so excited to have that. All right, this is the last of our videos. We are so excited to see all of you here with us at State this year, and I hope everyone has an amazing show. Good luck. All right, we are here with Tara, and she is going to be our judge for our English program this year. We are so excited to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what you've done?
Hi there, my name is Tara Spilker. I have been a lifelong equestrian and I have shown and competed in both English and Western events. I grew up specifically competing in the equitation and the hunter ring, and have dabbled in the jumpers as well. As I have branched out as an adult, I have also competed in Western. I have traveled out of state and shown in both the hunter jumper, the equitation, and in the Western events. And I just feel like I love every single discipline that's out there that involves with the horses.
I understand that. That's great. All right, so with our questions today, I'm going to roll a couple of them into the same one because I feel like they sit pretty similarly. So, with our junior hunter over fences, do you prefer riders to continue posting over ground poles or 2 point? And that can go for any of our youth who are showing just in ground poles.
I think that over the ground poles, I would like to see riders perform a correctly executed 2 point. I'm looking at, I think that my biggest thing is I'm looking to see correctness in the rider's position. Um, like more so just like aligned and like performing it correctly. Not necessarily because we aren't riding these big warm blood horses. So I would rather look at a rider that is distributing their weight evenly, performing the maneuver safely and correctly. And so, yes, I would like to see you in a 2 point rather than just posting over a ground.
Awesome. Great. Kind of in that. So this is for the hunter hack class. Will there be more than one ground pole at a fence, or is it just a single ground pole? And I think that also carries for our over fences classes in general.
There, I think should just be a single ground pole, and not have like a stacked or anything, just a single ground pole.
Perfect. All right. And then the next couple are going to be for our equitation patterns. In the figure eight pattern, how big do the circles need to be of the figure eight, whether it's a trotted pattern or the cantered pattern?
I think that in your figure eight pattern, you should use the center line of the arena as where you should like make your figure eight. I'm not going to say that your circles need to be like a 10-meter circle. I would use your rail, use the center of your arena as your figure eight, and then come back out, use your rail. Because as a hunter, we are taught to use the corners of our arena. And so I think that that should translate to making your figure eight pattern as well.
Great. That is awesome advice. All right. Similar, wondering how the pattern speeds work for the trot logs if there is no canter. Do we trot the whole pattern?
Yes. Yes.
If it is a walk trot pattern, it is trotted the whole time. All right. For the walk trot pattern, it says to just not lope. Should we post the circle or perform a sitting trot when the lope is drawn? We've already answered that. If it is done at a sitting trot or at a posting trot, on the correct diagonal, posting around your circles. Okay.
Yes.
In general, do you have any advice for any of our kids that are competing? Anything that you would love to see or something that's maybe a pet peeve that just you really don't want to see happen this weekend?
My biggest thing that I'm going to be looking for, like I said earlier, is just I want to see a horse and a rider in sync. I'm not looking for a horse that's going to be fancier than the other one that looks like it should go and show in the hunter ring. I want to see a true connection between the rider and their horse. I want to see fluid motion. I want to see everything just like it's on purpose, like it's nice and just smooth and connected and flowing the whole way around. I want to see a rider that is in a correct position, and that just looks like they are out having fun with their horse, and it just looks like it's a joy to be out there and riding.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and we will see you at the state show. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.